The Brothers Karamazov is one of Fyodor Dostoevsky's greatest novels, often hailed as a masterpiece of world literature. Written toward the end of Dostoevsky's life, it encompasses many of the major themes that defined his work: faith, free will, morality, and the existence of God. This deeply philosophical novel is not only a family saga, but also a profound investigation of the human soul. Through the story of the Karamazov family, Dostoevsky explores the complexities of human nature and the moral and spiritual dilemmas that every individual faces. The novel begins with the introduction of Fyodor Pavlovich Karamazov, the father of the three titular brothers, Dmitri, Mitya, Ivan, and Alexei, Alyosha. Fyodor Pavlovich is a wealthy landowner, but his wealth has been amassed through unscrupulous means. He is a vulgar, selfish, and morally corrupt man who neglects and abuses his children. Fyodor's relationship with his sons is strained at best and non-existent at worst. He is a symbol of depravity and base human instincts, and his influence casts a dark shadow over his sons' lives. The eldest son, Dmitri, is passionate and impulsive, embodying a man ruled by emotion and instinct. His life is driven by intense desires, whether they are for love, honor, or revenge. He is caught up in a fierce rivalry with his father over money and the affections of a woman named Grushenka. Dmitri believes that Fyodor owes him part of his inheritance and is enraged when his father refuses to give it to him. This financial conflict intertwines with their emotional rivalry, as both father and son are in love with Grushenka, further intensifying the hatred between them. Ivan, the middle brother, is an intellectual, a skeptic, and an atheist. He represents reason, logic, and the rejection of traditional religious beliefs. Ivan's internal struggle revolves around the question of God's existence and the problem of evil in the world. His philosophical ideas challenge conventional morality, particularly his belief that if there is no God, then there is no basis for moral rules. If God does not exist, everything is permitted. Ivan's existential crisis deepens throughout the novel as he confronts the consequences of these ideas, particularly when they indirectly lead to the murder of his father. Alyosha, the youngest brother, is the antithesis of Ivan. Deeply religious and compassionate, he is a novice at a monastery and is under the guidance of the wise elder, Father Zosima. Alyosha is the embodiment of faith, love, and humility. He serves as a moral compass for his brothers and the other characters in the novel, striving to reconcile the deep divisions in his family and offering a vision of spiritual salvation. His purity and goodness are a stark contrast to the moral chaos that surrounds him. The central drama of the novel unfolds around the murder of Fyodor Pavlovich. Dmitri becomes the prime suspect, as his violent hatred for his father and his public threats make him the most obvious culprit. However, as the investigation proceeds, it becomes clear that the true murderer is Smerdyakov, Fyodor's illegitimate son by a servant. Smerdyakov is a bitter, cynical character who has been influenced by Ivan's philosophical musings on moral freedom and the absence of God. While Ivan did not commit the murder, his ideas about moral relativism and his rejection of traditional religious values play a role in Smerdyakov's decision to kill their father. Dmitri is nevertheless convicted of the crime, and the novel delves deeply into the psychological and spiritual consequences of the murder on all three brothers. Ivan, tormented by guilt and madness, realizes that his philosophical nihilism has led to real-world destruction. Alyosha, though heartbroken by the tragedy that befalls his family, remains steadfast in his faith and continues to offer forgiveness and hope to those around him. Themes and ideas in the novel: the conflict between faith and doubt. At the heart of the Brothers Karamazov is the struggle between faith and atheism, represented most starkly by the characters of Alyosha and Ivan. Ivan's crisis of faith revolves around the existence of suffering and evil in the world, particularly the suffering of innocent children. In one of the novel's most famous passages, The Grand Inquisitor, Ivan presents his argument against a benevolent God by constructing a narrative in which Christ is questioned by a powerful, cynical figure who believes that humans are too weak to bear the burden of freedom and must be controlled by the church. Ivan's existential doubt leads him to question the very foundations of morality, which he believes are rooted in religious dogma. Without God, he argues, human beings are left to create their own moral codes, which can lead to chaos and destruction. Alyosha, on the other hand, represents unwavering faith. Despite the suffering and moral degradation he witnesses around him, Alyosha remains committed to the belief that love, compassion, and faith in God can lead to redemption. His spiritual journey is guided by Father Zosima, who preaches the idea of universal responsibility, a concept that suggests every person is responsible not only for their own actions, but also for the collective suffering of humanity. Alyosha's faith is not blind or naive. Rather, it is a deeply conscious choice in the face of overwhelming evidence of human suffering and evil. Free will and moral responsibility. Another central theme of the novel is the question of free will and moral responsibility. Ivan's philosophical stance that everything is permitted if there is no God is a key idea that reverberates throughout the novel. His belief in the absence of absolute moral rules leads to a sense of moral relativism, where individuals are free to define their own morality. However, this sense of freedom comes with profound consequences. Ivan's intellectual rejection of morality, when taken to its extreme by Smerdyakov, leads to murder. Dostoevsky explores the dangerous implications of unchecked free will. Without a higher moral authority, individuals are left to navigate their own ethical boundaries, and this can lead to both personal and societal destruction. Ivan's intellectual rebellion against God is contrasted with Alyosha's acceptance of moral responsibility, not just for his own actions, but for the suffering and evil in the world around him. Alyosha's belief in collective responsibility is a counterpoint to Ivan's individualistic existentialist view of the world. Fathers and sons. The relationship between fathers and sons is a critical theme in the Brothers Karamazov, both on a personal and symbolic level. Fyodor Pavlovich's neglect and abuse of his sons contribute to the dysfunction within the family. Each of the Karamazov brothers struggles with their father's legacy in different ways. Dmitri's impulsiveness and emotional instability can be seen as a direct result of his father's corrupt influence. Ivan's intellectual rebellion is, in part, a rejection of his father's immorality, but it also leads him down a dangerous path of philosophical nihilism. Alyosha, the spiritual son, represents the possibility of transcending the sins of the father through faith and love. On a broader level, the theme of fathers and sons also speaks to the generational conflict between the old and the new, tradition and progress. Fyodor Pavlovich represents the decay of the old moral and religious order, while his sons represent the new generation struggling to find meaning in a world where those old values no longer seem to hold sway. Love, forgiveness, and redemption. At its core, The Brothers Karamazov is a novel about the possibility of redemption through love and forgiveness. Alyosha, as the spiritual center of the novel, offers a vision of redemption that is rooted in Christian love. Father Zosima teaches that every person must seek to forgive not only others but also themselves, recognizing their shared responsibility for the suffering of the world. Zosima's philosophy is one of humility and compassion, and he urges his followers to embrace suffering as a path toward spiritual growth. The theme of forgiveness is central to the novel's conclusion, where Alyosha offers hope even in the face of tragedy. While Dmitri is convicted of a crime he did not commit, Alyosha believes that through suffering and repentance, even Dmitri can find redemption. Dostoevsky suggests that true freedom comes not from rejecting moral and religious constraints, but from embracing love and forgiveness as guiding principles for human life. Conclusion. The overall message of the Brothers Karamazov is an exploration of the human condition, particularly the tension between faith and doubt, freedom and responsibility, love and hatred. Dostoevsky presents a complex vision of human nature, where the capacity for both good and evil exists within every individual. The novel suggests that while intellectual doubt and existential despair are natural parts of the human experience, they must be balanced by faith, love, and a sense of moral responsibility. Dostoevsky's vision is ultimately a hopeful one. Despite the darkness that surrounds the Karamazov family, the possibility of redemption remains. Through Alyosha, Dostoevsky presents a path forward, one rooted in compassion, humility, and the belief that love and forgiveness can overcome even the greatest suffering and evil. In a world that often seems chaotic and morally ambiguous, the Brothers Karamazov offers a profound meditation on the enduring power of faith and human decency, created for Squeeze That Book channel. Please subscribe to follow new videos, and leave a comment with your thoughts about the book.